Good morning. Let us continue with the session, making of the Constitution. Yesterday we have seen almost 50% of the points regarding making of the Constitution. But in the beginning of the class itself, I tried to brief it out, almost all the points. Let's continue the topic. And we have seen that we have taken 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days for completing the Constitution. Various committees have been formed, and we have also seen how exactly the members got elected. And finally, we got that the total strength was 389. Out of that, 296 members were elected indirectly, and the remaining 93 were nominated from the princely states. Let me open the document straight away. Let's go there and let's try to discuss more points. So this is what we have seen yesterday. The members of the Constituent Assembly which drafted the Constitution of India were, answer is C, elected by the legislative assemblies of various provinces. After this, we'll go to the next point. Look at this. When it comes to the so-called the Constituent Assembly, we understood that the members got elected. The members got elected and some people were nominated. And if you look at the total strength of 389, almost every important freedom fighter was there in the Constituent Assembly. Maybe Jawahar Lal Nehru or Dr. Rajendra Prasad or B.R. Ambedkar, K.M. Munshi. So many important leaders were the members of the Constituent Assembly. But the two most important persons were not the members of the Constituent Assembly. Regarding one person, there was already a question in the examination. These two important persons are, one is father of the nation for India, second one is the father of the nation for Pakistan. That is Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah. These two were not the members of the Constituent Assembly. Apart from these two important persons, remaining every person, almost every person who was very important, he was also the member of the Constituent Assembly. Okay. Let me open this document again. Now look at this. Except Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah, all prominent members were included in the Constituent Assembly. And next point is that the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly took place at 11 o'clock in the morning on December 9th, 1946. That is the beginning. And of course, if you look at India, even today also, our parliament session begins at 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And if you go back to the Constituent Assembly, which has been constituted for the purpose of framing the Constitution for India, it met for the first time on December 9th, 1946. Kindly remember, the dates are important for the examination point of view. This is the first meeting. And if you look at this, next point, the Muslim League boycotted the meeting and insisted on separate state called Pakistan. I told you this point. Since the year 1940, Muslim League started demanding for partition of the nation, and then there should be a separate country called Pakistan has to be created. And the demand is that it is not just the Constituent Assembly for India, Constituent Assembly for Pakistan should also be created. This was the demand from Muslim League during that time. Look at this. The Constituent Assembly began to function with the non-Muslim with the non-Muslim League members. So they started functioning. So the journey began on December 9th, 1946. And we started going ahead. Next one. Look at this. The Muslim League requested for the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly on the grounds that it was not fully representative of all the sections of India. It was a demand that was made by Muslim League, dissolve, dissolve this Constituent Assembly. Why? The reason is that because it is not fully representative of all the sections. And when the meeting was started, it was attended only by 211 members. Kindly remember these points. Let me come back to you on the screen for a little discussion. See here, I told you this point. The total strength was 389 about the Constituent Assembly. And we have already divided that into 296 plus 93 members. Out of this 389, the day one has begun only with 211 members. So many people did not attend. It was not just the members who belonged to the Muslim League, but also the nominated members from the princely states also did not attend the meeting on day number one. Not day number one, it continued for a period of time also. Okay, right. So now the meeting has been started on December 9th, 1946. Kindly remember one thing. Now a group of 211 members have sat together on day number one. When we have a group, that group should always have a leader. In the absence of the leader, the group will become directionless. If there is a leader, the leader will keep on giving the directions to the members, and the leader will be asking the members what to do, what not to do. In the similar manner, you look at any political party rather today. Every political party has got a leader. Every union has got a leader. And similarly, if you look at Lok Sabha today, so the most important person for the Lok Sabha is the speaker. And the speaker will give the directions to the members. Which member should be speaking, who should not be permitted to speak, why he should not be permitted to speak. Everything will be decided by the speaker. Similarly, in the Rajya Sabha also, there is a chairman, and that chairman will decide the which member should speak and who should not be permitted to speak. Similarly, if you go to the assembly or the legislative council, we have speaker and the chairman of the respective houses, and they will be playing the crucial role. In the similar manner, when the Constituent Assembly met for the first time, met for the first time with a gigantic task before them. That gigantic task is nothing but framing the constitution for India. Obviously, they also need some chairman, they also need some leaders. But generally, what happens is that whenever a group is meeting for the first time, it takes some time for them to conduct the election. Through election, they will be deciding who should be the leader. In the similar manner, since the beginning, even today also there is a practice. Before we conduct the election to elect the leader, one of the members who is present in the house will be picked up as the interim president or interim chairman. And with respect to the Constituent Assembly, there was a senior member by name Dr. Sachchidananda Sinha, and he was chosen as the interim president for the Constituent Assembly. Kindly listen to my words very, very carefully. I am using the word, he was the interim president for the Constituent Assembly, not for India, only for that group which was present there. For that, he was elected as the president, that too for a temporary period of time. And this happened on December 9th, 1946. And exactly after 2 days, that is on December 11th, 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad has been elected as the president for the Constituent Assembly. Two dates are important for me, and the two persons are important for me. Very frequently asked questions in the examination. One is the December 9th, the second one is December 11th. Interim president was Dr. Sachchidananda Sinha. And the president was Dr. B. Rajendra Prasad. These two persons are important with respect to the examination point of view. Okay, now let me go back to the document. Look at this. Dr. Sachchidananda Sinha was elected as a provisional or the temporary or interim president of the Constituent Assembly. So this happened on day number 1. And exactly after 2 days, if you look at this, on December 11th, 1946, Dr. B. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president of the Constituent Assembly. And from that day till the last day of working of the Constituent Assembly, that is January 24th, 1950, till that time, Dr. B. Rajendra Prasad was continued to be the president of the Constituent Assembly. Right? And apart from this, if you look at the next point, kindly see here, I would like to tell you just one point. Let us compare with the today's situation. You look at the Lok Sabha. In Lok Sabha, we have a speaker and we also have a deputy speaker. In Rajya Sabha, we have a chairman and also the deputy chairman. Speaker will perform the most important functions with respect to the Lok Sabha, and the chairman of the Rajya Sabha will also do the same functions. But in the absence of the speaker, the deputy speaker will be performing the similar functions that of the speaker, meaning the deputy speaker will be acting as the speaker. In the similar manner, in the Rajya Sabha, in the absence of the chairman, the deputy chairman will be acting as the chairman. So this is the basic idea with respect to this. Similarly, even in the Constituent Assembly also, so there was a vice president. President was Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and the vice president was H.C. Mukherjee. H.C. Mukherjee, he was elected as the vice president. Okay, just a moment, please. Kindly hold on. Just back within 30 seconds. Just a moment. Yeah. So I'm back. Now look at this. So H.C. Mukherjee was elected as the vice president of the Constituent Assembly. Okay. Now, kindly remember these two names. One is Dr. B. Rajendra Prasad, and second one is the H.C. Mukherjee, who was elected as the vice president. And look at this. And other important points with respect to this is the B.N. Rao. Benegal Rao, Sir Benegal Rao, in fact, he was appointed as the constitutional advisor. Remember all the names, please. I used the names of Dr. Sachchidananda Sinha, Dr. B. Rajendra Prasad, H.C. Mukherjee. Now I am using another name, that is Sir Benegal Rao or B.N. Rao. He was appointed as a constitutional advisor. Kindly remember these names. Next. So exactly after 2 days, after the election of the president of the Constituent Assembly on December 11th, exactly after 2 days, on December 13th, objectives resolution was moved by Jawahar Lal Nehru. Very important one here, objectives resolution. What is the meaning of this? So, meaning the Constituent Assembly sat together, the members have come together, with a purpose. The purpose is nothing but framing a better constitution for India, which is going to govern the people in the future. Hence, they need to take lots of caution with respect to framing the constitution. But what type of constitution does India require? So that was the basic point. That's the reason why. So on day number one, after the election of the vice president, after election of the president and all the things, on December 13th, Jawahar Lal Nehru has moved the objectives resolution. And whatever the word I am using, objectives resolution today, that became preamble in today's constitution. You might have heard this word preamble so many times. So whatever the preamble that we are going to discuss in the next class, that preamble is nothing but the modified version of objectives resolution. Objective means goal. What type of constitution does India require? For that reason, a beautifully worded document was introduced by Jawahar Lal Nehru on December 13th. For more than 1 month, it was discussed in the Constituent Assembly, and finally on January 22nd, it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. During that time, majority of the leaders, rather so many leaders in the world, they praised the beautifully worded document of Jawahar Lal Nehru. And every word was considered to be so important, and each word was carrying a lot of meaning and lots of weightage. And what exactly is that? We'll have a discussion when we talk about the preamble. Hence, preamble is considered to be a very, very, very important part of the Indian Constitution. That's what we are going to discuss in the next class. But otherwise, the objectives resolution was moved by Jawahar Lal Nehru. Kindly see here, on day number 1, I have used certain words: introducing a bill, presentation of the bill. The meaning is same. It is nothing but reading out the contents of the bill. Now I am using another word. A bill can also be moved. Moved in the sense, again, it is nothing but introduction or presentation. And on December 13th, 1946, Jawahar Lal Nehru moved objectives resolution. Now, let me show you the document. We'll have a discussion again here. Now, look at this. And this objectives resolution was adopted on January 22nd, 1947. When it was moved, when it was adopted. Now, next point. Preamble was the modified version of the objectives resolution. Hence, it is very, very important. Look at this. What is the objectives resolution here? Look at this. Number 1, it was speaking in terms of the federal polity, like envisaged a federal polity with the residuary powers vesting in the autonomous units. Hopefully, you understand each and every word here, because I explained you each word in a detailed manner. There should not be any confusion. If you still have any confusion with respect to any word, please go back to the previous classes and watch those classes again, only to strengthen yourself. Next one. So, and this also said that the sovereignty belongs to the people. Next one, the justice, social, economic, and political. Each and every word we are going to discuss again when we talk about the preamble. But we know the meaning of this, each word. Look at this. Look at this next one. There should be equality of status and of opportunity and before the law. Yes, today we have adopted the same thing in the Constitution. Next one. Freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association, and action were to be guaranteed to all the people, along with adequate safeguards to minorities, backward classes, and also the tribal areas and depressed and other backward classes. Very, very, very important one. I'm just reading it for your sake once again. This is important one. Freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association, and action were to be guaranteed to all the people along with adequate safeguards to minorities. What do you mean by this? So, whatever I told you, it was not guaranteed in India when it was being ruled by the British. That's the reason why the most important aspects were taken by Jawahar Lal Nehru, and he came out with the adequate safeguards to the minorities, backward and tribal areas, and depressed and other backward classes. Next one. The objective resolution gave the Constituent Assembly its guiding principles and the philosophy that was to permeate its tasks of constitution making. Meaning, by looking at the objective resolution, it acted as the guiding principles. So, what to do? What should be the philosophy? How to go ahead? It has been, the directions has been given by objective resolution. Look at this. Later, what happened? On February 20th, 1947, so this statement is called His Majesty's Statement. Look at this important one. They announced that the British rule in India would in any case end by June 1948. So this is what I told you. This is the statement that is given by the British, that the British rule comes to an end in India under any circumstances by June 1948. After this, the British would transfer the authority to India. Important. And if by that time a fully representative constituent assembly failed to work out a constitution, by this time India was asked to, the constituent assembly was asked to frame the constitution. Because of any reason, if the constituent assembly failed to work out a constitution in accordance with the proposals made by the cabinet delegation, then the British government would decide to whom the powers of the central government in British India should be handed over. Meaning, it's a caution, it's a warning that was given to the Constituent Assembly. You make your constitution according to the proposals as decided by the cabinet mission plan. Otherwise, the government of the day, that is the British government, is fully empowered to decide to whom the powers of the central government can be handed over. This is the statement that was issued on February 20th, 1947. Kindly remember this. Look at this now. After the statement of His Majesty's government, the Muslim League did not consider to join the Constituent Assembly and pressing for another Constituent Assembly for Muslims. Okay, I think this the word is repeated here. I'm just removing it. Now look at this. I'll read once again for you. After the statement of His Majesty's government, the Muslim League did not consider to join the Constituent Assembly and started demanding for another Constituent Assembly for Muslims. Now everything is very clear. Everything is very clear that India is going to get the independence. So now India is gearing up. Constituent Assembly is gearing up for framing the constitution. Already the job was initiated. And by looking at the statement of His Majesty's government, Muslim League started demanding and they started pressing the demand for another Constituent Assembly for Muslims. Right? Muslim India, that is nothing but Pakistan. Look at this. Lord Mountbatten was sent to India as the Governor General, replacing Lord Wavell. Of course, even at that time he was called Viceroy. Lord Wavell was the Viceroy, and Lord Wavell has been replaced by Lord Mountbatten. Okay, and this man, Lord Mountbatten, came out with a plan which is also called June 3rd plan. And this is the plan. This is the plan, in fact, so which proposed for the partition of the nation. As long as the Lord Wavell was the viceroy, nothing happened. Even the British government did not consider this. Cabinet delegation also did not speak about the division of the nation. But when it comes to the Lord Mountbatten, after he comes to India as a viceroy, things have changed and he proposed a plan that is called June 3rd plan. And according to this plan, he proposed for the partition of the nation. And that became the ground for partition of India, and India went ahead for the partition. Look at this. He came out with a plan called June 3rd plan. With this, what happened? Look at this. According to this, the provinces of Punjab and Bengal would be partitioned so as to form absolute Hindu and Muslim majority blocks. Of course, it does not include Assam, East Punjab, and West Bengal. Kindly remember this very, very important point. If you look at the map of India even today also, whatever the areas I told you, these are the areas which are dominated by the Muslims. And the remaining areas were dominated by the Hindus. And according to this plan, the provinces of Punjab and Bengal, they would be partitioned so that will be divided into Hindu and Muslim majority blocks. And it did not include Assam, East Bengal, East Punjab, and West Bengal. Next one. The Muslim League would then get its Pakistan. So whatever the areas that were proposed, they will become the part of the new country called Pakistan. And this, in fact, that was rejected by the cabinet delegation in 1946. Rejected by the cabinet delegation, but again proposed by Lord Mountbatten. Okay. Now, if you go back here, the Congress would get the rest of India where the Muslims were in minority. So this is how the proposal was made. Look at this. The actual decision whether the two provinces of the Punjab and Bengal were to be partitioned was left to the vote of the members of the legislative assemblies of these two provinces. Let the members in the legislative assemblies decide it. Look at this. This plan was given a formal shape by a statement made by the British government on June 3rd. This plan is known as Mountbatten Plan or June 3rd Plan. Okay, look at this. This plan also proposed that a referendum in the northwest frontier province and in the Muslim majority district of Sylhet as to whether they would join India or Pakistan. Okay, this is one important point. This plan also proposed for a referendum. Referendum is nothing but the public opinion, and it will be conducted in northwest frontier province and the Muslim majority district of Sylhet, so that they can decide whether to join India or Pakistan. And if you look at the next point, the voting went in favor of the partition. After this one, the Muslim League decided to join new Constituent Assembly. Kindly remember this. Yesterday also I told you, in the beginning, Muslim League did not join the Constituent Assembly. But after the voting went in favor of the Pakistan, that is partition, the Muslim League also decided to join the new Constituent Assembly. And the referendum in northwest frontier province and also in the Sylhet district of Assam, they also went in favor of Pakistan. Later, the representatives from the princely states joined the Constituent Assembly. What is the meaning of this? Since beginning, the full strength of the Constituent Assembly was not attending the assembly. And after a period of time, Muslim League joined, and after that one, the representatives from the princely states joined the Constituent Assembly. Okay. Now, after June 3rd Mountbatten Plan, most of the others also joined the Constituent Assembly. Look at this. The Muslim League members joined Constituent Assembly. I told you this one. Next one, on July 26, 1947, Lord Mountbatten announced that the establishment of a separate Constituent Assembly for Pakistan. Till that time, there was no separate Constituent Assembly for Pakistan, but it was announced on July 26, 1947 by the Viceroy Lord Mountbatten. Am I clear? Look at this next one. The Indian Independence Act, the Indian Independence Bill was introduced in the British Parliament. The British Parliament on July 4th, 1947, and this Indian Independence Act received the royal assent, meaning the crown, royal assent on July 18th, 1947. Look at this. The Indian Independence Act came into force from July 18th, 1947, but in reality, it came into force on August 15th, 1947. Though it received the royal assent, in fact, it was implemented from August 15th. So this is the date on which the country got the independence. Look at this. The Indian Independence Act, these points are important for the examination. The Indian Independence Act of 1947 provided that from August 15th, 1947, it would be set two independent dominions. One is India and the other one is the Pakistan. Next one. The constituent assemblies of each dominion will have unlimited powers. The constituent assemblies will have the unlimited powers to frame and adopt the constitution and also to repeal any act of the British Parliament, including Indian Independence Act of 1947. It is not just establishing the constituent assemblies. Now, the complete freedom has been given to these two constituent assemblies. One is for India, second one is for the Pakistan. They were given the absolute powers. Whatever you want to decide in your assembly, you can decide it. If you want to repeal any act that was passed by the British Parliament, you can also do it. So this is the statement made during that time. Accordingly, they were given complete independence to choose any type of the constitution they like. Clear? I'm stressing this point because we got a new constituent assembly for Pakistan. Okay, now look at the document here. The Dominion of India got the residuary territory excluding the province of Sindh, Baluchistan, West Punjab, East Bengal, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sylhet district in Assam. Meaning, apart from these areas, remaining areas have come under the purview of India. Okay, and whatever the points you have written here, Sindh, Baluchistan, West Punjab, East Bengal, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sylhet district in Assam, they became the part of Pakistan. Okay, now look at this. After this one, the Constituent Assembly reassembled on August 14th, 1947 as the Sovereign Constituent Assembly for the Dominion of India. Okay, next one. The members of the Pakistan area in the Constituent Assembly are ceased to be the members. Obviously, they cannot be the members of Indian Constituent Assembly. It is because the nation has been separated. They have become the part of Pakistan, and the members have become the part of the Constituent Assembly for Pakistan. That is the reason why they are ceased to be the members. Okay. Later, look at this. There was a fresh election in the new provinces of East Punjab and West Bengal. Okay. Look at this. Fresh election was conducted here. When the Constituent Assembly reassembled on October 31st, 1947, the membership was reduced to 299, meaning The original strength was 389. After the partition and after the fresh election in two provinces, East Punjab and West Bengal, that membership was reduced to 299. Okay, look at this. With Indian Independence Act of 1947, the Constituent Assembly became the sovereign body. What do you mean by the word sovereign body? Sovereign body is nothing but it is an authority which will not come under any external pressure or internal pressure, and they decide what exactly the nation wants. Without coming under anybody's pressure, they have every right to act. Hence, we are using the word the Constituent Assembly became the sovereign body. Kindly remember, only the Constituent Assembly became the sovereign body. But India became sovereign on January 26th, 1950. Okay, look at this. The same Constituent Assembly became the first parliament of free India. And here the first speaker was G.V. Mavalankar. Kindly remember this. Muslim League members withdrawn and the strength was reduced to 299. Yes, look at the few points again here. The Constituent Assembly adopted the national flag on July 22nd, 1947. Okay, this is a general knowledge question, very frequently asked, but kindly remember the national flag has been adopted on July 22nd, 1947. But otherwise, when it comes to our national flag, previously we used this word like a tricolor flag. So there was a great person by name Pingali Venkaya, and he designed the tricolor flag for India. And once it has been decided that India is going to get the independence on August 15th, 1947, an independent nation is expected to have its own national flag. And during the time, in the Constituent Assembly, the decision was taken, and all the members have accepted that let the tricolor flag will be adopted as the national flag of the India. That's the reason why the national flag was adopted on July 22nd, July 22nd, 1947. Next one. Look at this. The Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution on November 26th, 1949. Remember this. And the Constituent Assembly adopted national anthem on January 24th, 1950. Remember these points. Dates are important. And it also adopted the national song on January 24th, 1950. Meaning, both Janaganamana and Vande Mataram have been adopted on January 24th, 1950. Okay, and kindly remember that January 24th, 1950 was the last working day of the Constituent Assembly. Right? Look at this. The point at the bottom. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the first president of India on January 24th, 1950. Okay, look at this. Look at this another point. January 24th, 1950 was the last session of the Constituent Assembly. Kindly remember, each and every point what I am showing it to you on the screen is very, very important. The first day began on December 9th, 1946, and the last session was on January 24th, 1950. And kindly go up. I'm highlighting this point. Kindly have a look at this. This is the date on which Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the first president of India. All these days, he was the president for Constituent Assembly. The same Constituent Assembly decided let Dr. Rajendra Prasad be the first president of India. Okay, and this happened on January 24th. And this particular day is considered to be the last working day of the Constituent Assembly. And from here onwards, from January 26th, 1950, the same Constituent Assembly has been transformed into Provisional Parliament. Look at this. The Constituent Assembly continued as the Provisional Parliament of India from January 26th, 1950 till the completion of first general elections in India. So this is what happened during that time. Okay, all these days the Constituent Assembly has worked from January 26th onwards. It continued as the provisional parliament. What do you mean by this provisional parliament? It is nothing but it is a temporary parliament. But kindly remember, if you look at the parliament today, you need to have Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the president. We got the president on January 24th, and officially India became republic on January 26th. But where is this Lok Sabha and where is this Rajya Sabha during that time? Lok Sabha elections must be conducted. This is the direct elections. In the similar manner, if you look at this Rajya Sabha members are elected by the elected members of the state legislative assemblies. We know these points. But there was no state assembly elections. There was no Lok Sabha elections. It takes time. It takes time for India to conduct these elections. On day one itself, we cannot conduct the elections because it will take time. For that reason, what happened? For a temporary period of time, the existing Constituent Assembly was permitted to continue as the Provisional Parliament. Am I clear? And we conducted the first general elections in India in 1951 and 1952. It started in October 1951, continued up to February 1952. And this is the first general election in India wherein the elections for Lok Sabha and the elections for state legislative assemblies were conducted. Once the state legislative assembly elections have been conducted, later we conducted the elections for Rajya Sabha. Without assemblies, there is no Rajya Sabha. That's the reason why first we conducted the elections for assemblies, then we conducted the elections for Rajya Sabha. By the time Lok Sabha is also ready for us. Hence, the first Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha were constituted in May 1952. Kindly remember these points, which are very, very important for the examination point of view. Am I clear? Next. Next, I'm going to the next topic. I'm sorry, next point. The dates are important. That's what I have given. And now, let's come back to this Constituent Assembly. Look at this. Altogether, there were 22 committees in the Constituent Assembly. And out of, kindly remember the number, 22. Out of 22, 10 committees were on procedural affairs. And the remaining 12 committees were substantive affairs. Meaning they are considerable affairs. 10 on procedural affairs, remaining 12 on substantive affairs. Look at this. Few points I have given here. Try to remember this. The steering committee chairman was K.M. Munshi, and it consisted of 3 members. Forget about the 3 members, but just remember the name of the chairman of the steering committee. It was K.M. Munshi. Look at this. Look at this. We have another committee called the Rules of Procedure Committee, and it was headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. We have another committee called the Drafting Committee. I told you, the very, very important committee in the entire Constituent Assembly. And the chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Next. There is something called Union Powers Committee, and the chairman was Jawahar Lal Nehru. Apart from this, we also have a committee on Union Constitution, and it was headed by, again, Jawahar Lal Nehru. Kindly remember all the points, please, because it was a question in the civil service examination. Next is the Provincial Constitution Committee. Chairman was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. There is another committee called, very huge one here, the Committee on Fundamental Rights and Minorities. Again, it was headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and it consisted of 54 members. And the draft was prepared by B.N. Rao, and we know this great man. He was the advisor to the Constituent Assembly. Next, when it comes to the drafting committee, it was set up on August 29th, 1947. Okay, it was set up on August 29th, 1947. Now go to the next line. The chairman of the committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and there were 7 members, including the chairman in the drafting committee. Kindly remember the names of all the committees, what I have shown you, and who was the chairman, and who prepared the draft. That was B.N. Rao. And who was he? He was an advisor to the Constituent Assembly. And when it comes to the most important committee, was the drafting committee, and it was set up in August 1947, and the chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and it consisted of 7 members, including the chairman. Next one. So we have a question. Kindly have a look at this question. Who among the following was the chairman of the Union Constitution Committee of the Constituent Assembly? Just now I have shown you that point. Answer is the Jawahar Lal Nehru. Okay, so it was already a question, please. It was already a question. Look at this. Here I have given you UPSC in 2005. Hence, it may be a question at any point of time. Instead of asking about this committee, any other committee may be a question. Hence, remember the committee and remember the name of the chairman. And here the answer is C, that is Jawahar Lal Nehru. To go to the next point here, the drafting committee sat only for 114 days. And this drafting committee proposed for draft constitution for India. The first draft was presented to the president of the Constituent Assembly on February 21st, 1948, and it contained 315 articles and 8 schedules. Okay, just remember this. And the second draft was presented in October 1948. Draft is nothing but a copy of this. First one in February 1948, second one in October 1948. Okay, next one. The final draft was introduced in the Constituent Assembly by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar on November 4th, 1948. Okay, and this is considered to be the first reading. And look at this one. From November 15th, 1948 to October 17th, 1949, the second reading of the draft constitution took place. They discussed for quite a long period of time. And on November 14th, 1949, the third reading of the draft constitution took place. And so meaning first reading, second reading, third reading. It started in 1948 and completed in 1949. Look at this next point. The third reading was finished on November 26th, 1949. Look at the next point again. There were 299 members. We know this in the Constituent Assembly. Out of this 299, 284 members were present on that particular auspicious day in India, November 26, 1949. And they have given their signatures to the Constitution, and it was considered to be passed. And the draft Constitution was declared to be passed on November 26, 1949. Okay, now next point. The President and the members of the Constituent Assembly signed it. Is that okay? Kindly remember, this is the date. As the same date, it is mentioned in the preamble. Kindly remember, when we discuss about the preamble tomorrow, we'll be understanding that there is a date that is mentioned in the preamble, and that date is nothing but the date of adoption of the constitution, that is November 26th, 1949. Okay, now look at this. So this is called the original constitution. In the previous classes also I used this word, original constitution. Look at this important point, very frequently asked question in the examination. The original constitution contained 8 schedules and 395 articles. But I told you already, we got so many articles today, plus the number of schedules has been increased to 12. We have 12 schedules in the constitution of today. But in the original constitution, the number was 8 schedules and 395 articles. Next point, if you look at this, preamble was enacted after the enactment of the constitution. Kindly remember, preamble was the last to be adopted and enacted. Another important point I would like to tell you, if you remember this one, in the beginning of the class itself I told you, on December 13th, 1946, Jawahar Lal Nehru has moved the objectives resolution. I told you, today's preamble is nothing but modified version of the objectives resolution. Am I clear? That is number one. Number two, objectives resolution was the first to be introduced for the discussion. And when it comes to the preamble, that was the last one to be enacted. That was the last one to be inserted into the so-called the constitution. First to be introduced and last to be adopted. Okay, remember these points. Now let me open the document again. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the great man, you must be knowing this, all these things here. He is known as the father of the Constitution of India. Kindly remember, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar played a very, very crucial role as far as the drafting and adopting the Indian Constitution is concerned. That's the reason why those 299 members are present in the Constituent Assembly. Highest credit we give it to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Clear? That is the reason why he is known as father of the Constitution of India. Of course, he is also called chief architect of the Constitution of India, or he may be affectionately called modern Manu. Great, great, great person. Next one, note, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the first law minister of the nation from August 15th, 1947 to January 26th, 1950. Kindly remember this. He was the first law minister of India. Kindly remember this point. Next one. Next one. Look at the next point here. The Constitution came into force on January 26th, 1950. In the brackets, I have given you something. I told you yesterday also. It was adopted on November 26th, 1949, but it came into force on January 26th, 1950, meaning 2 months. 2 months time was taken here. But why? Only to match with another important day in the Indian history, that was January 26th, 1930. Look at the something I have written in the brackets. Following the resolution of Lahore session of 1929 of Indian National Congress, Purna Swaraj, which was celebrated on January 26th, 1930. On this day, Jawahar Lal Nehru hoisted the national flag on the banks of river Ravi. Only to match with this January 26th, deliberately, the Constitution was put into force on January 26th, 1950. Okay, look at this. Since then, January 26th, 1950 is celebrated as the Republic Day. I told you the meaning of the Republic. Kindly remember this one. Whenever I am using the word Republic, a nation is considered to be Republic if the head of the nation is elected, in India, the president is elected. Hence, India is a republic. In France, in America, the president is elected. Hence, those countries are also called the republic nations. And India became republic on January 26th, 1950. Since then, every January 26th, we are celebrating as the Republic Day. Okay. And the latest issue you must be knowing, for the first time, an American president is being invited as the chief guest for our Republic Day celebrations. Okay. So next year, that is on January 26th, 2015, the President of America, Barack Hussein Obama, is going to be the chief guest for Indian Republic Day celebrations. Okay. And of course, it became a tradition in India to invite the head of some other nation as the chief guest. And for the first time, an American president is coming, and that is going to be Barack Hussein Obama. Okay. Now, look at this. So, with the commencement of the Constitution, all previous laws, including that of Government of India Act 1935 and Indian Independence Act of 1947, were repealed. Okay, most of the laws were repealed, means cancelled, and there was only one exception, that was the Privy Council Jurisdiction Act of 1949. Right, there was an exception, and it all took 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days for the Constitution to get completed. Okay, now next one, the Provisional Parliament ceased to exist on April 17th, 1952, and the first elected parliaments, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, came into being in May 1952. I told you this point already here. The last working day of the Constituent Assembly was January 24th, 1950. And from that day, the same Constituent Assembly has been transformed into the Provisional Parliament. Since we cannot conduct the elections on day one or in the month number one, we continue to work with the Provisional Parliament. And finally, we conducted the elections for Lok Sabha. And at the same time, we also conducted elections for assemblies. Once the assemblies are ready, then we conducted the elections for the Rajya Sabha. That is the reason why the two houses of the Indian Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, they were constituted in the month of May 1952. That is the point. Remember this. Next one. The provisions, this is another important point. Kindly remember. The provisions related to citizenship, elections, provincial parliament, temporary and transitional provisions were given immediate effect. Rest of the Constitution came into force on January 26, 1950. But whatever the points I have highlighted on the screen before you, these came into force with the immediate effect that was on November 26, 1949. Okay, citizenship, elections, parliament, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, they came into effect. Right, see here, when it comes to the temporary and transitional provisions, what are they? We'll try to understand over a period of time. Some articles, of course, they are repealed now. They have become the part of the Indian Constitution in the beginning itself, and accordingly, the provincial parliament was permitted to function, and everything is mentioned in the Constitution. And the rest of the Constitution came into force on January 26, 1950. Hence, this is the date of commencement of the Constitution of India, January 26. I think we have some miscellaneous points. You can have a just look at here. Miscellaneous. The Muslim League was formed in the year 1906. General questions. These are all the general questions that are asked in the examination. But I don't want any of you to take any risk here. Kindly remember these facts. Muslim League was formed in the year 1906. In the year 1940, during the Lahore session, the Muslim League asserted the demand for the creation of the Pakistan. Muslim League was formed in 1906, but the first strong demand was made for separate Pakistan was in the year 1940. Next one, the boundaries between India and Pakistan were determined by a commission called Boundary Commission, and it was headed by Radcliffe. That is the reason why this is also called a Radcliffe line between India and Pakistan, and that was decided by this Boundary Commission. Okay, look at this. If you look at this one, in 1995 there was a question from UPSC. In the interim government formed in 1946, the vice president of the executive council was. Let me tell you what is the meaning of this. 1946. Look at the question once again. I will give you the explanation. What is the meaning of this? Now, we are talking something about the vice president of the executive council. Executive council is nothing but the group of members who are working under the viceroy. Today we are using the word council of ministers. At that time, of course, it was the executive council, and during that time, a vice president was appointed to the executive council. I am not talking about the vice president of India, but I am talking about the vice president of the executive council. And for that reason, Jawahar Lal Nehru was appointed as the vice president. Not for India, kindly remember. He was appointed as the vice president for the executive council only. It happened in the year 1946. And from there, he continued as the vice president for the executive council up to August 15th, 1947. And on August 15th, 1947, when we got the independence, the vice president of the executive council became the prime minister of India, meaning the same functions as he was performing as a prime minister, he started performing since the time of 1946. But he was under the control of the British government. He was under the control of the viceroy, and he was the vice president only for that particular group, not for India. But on August 15th, 1947, he became the most powerful man in India when he was appointed as the Prime Minister of India. Am I clear? Now, kindly remember this. It was a question. Look at this. In the interim, kindly remember, interim government means it's a temporary government that was formed in the year 1946, and the vice president was Jawahar Lal Nehru. Okay. Next. We have one more question. And have a look at this. Here, these type of questions are asked in the examination. Kindly read the questions very carefully. Assertion and a reason are given. And these are the two statements. Given below are the two statements. One is labeled as assertion and the other is labeled as reason. A and R, assertion and reason. Now, in this type of questions, we are asked to establish the relation between assertion and reason. The statement may be anything. Either only assertion is correct or only reason is correct, or both assertion and reason may be correct. Only by reading we can understand that. Either assertion is correct or reason is correct, or both may be correct. If only one is not correct, then we need to pick up the answer accordingly. If both are correct, then answer will become something else. If both are correct and if reason has any link with the assertion, then the answer will become something else. Meaning, if the assertion and the reason have the perfect link between these two, then answer will become something else and the answer will change. Hence, in order to practice this type of questions, you need to understand very clearly about this ABCD first of all. In the examination also, the same ABCD are given. So we need not waste any time. Our time is not going to be wasted in the examination. But be thorough with ABCD. What is that we have given? Look at this. A. I'll read the statements after some time. In the context of the above two statements, which one of the following is correct? Forget about assertion reason. First of all, I'll come to this after some time. But this is a common thing what we have for various questions. Look at this. Answer will become A if both assertion and reason are true and reason is the correct explanation for assertion. If both are right and the reason is considered to be correct explanation to the assertion, then only our answer will become A. If you go to option B, both assertion and reason are true, good, but there is no link between reason and assertion, meaning reason is not correct explanation for assertion. That is, if that is the case, option B will become the answer. If you go to C, assertion is correct, but the reason is false. False means the statement itself is incorrect. Then only the answer will be C. And if you go to D, assertion is wrong statement, but the reason is correct factually. That is the reason why it will go for D. Now, go to this assertion reason. Let's try to understand. The British sovereignty continued to exist in free India. No, the British sovereignty gone. Once India became free here, the British sovereignty has gone. That is the reason why assertion should be wrong. A is false. Okay. Now, look at this next point. The British sovereign appointed the last Governor General of Free India. Yes, this is the right statement. And the last Governor General was the so-called this C. Rajagopalachari. He was appointed by the British sovereign. British sovereignty continued to exist in free India is wrong, but the British sovereign appointed the last Governor General of free India is the right. Hence, option D is the answer. Assertion is wrong, but the reason is right. Am I clear? You need to be very careful in answering these questions. We have one more question. I think a few more questions are there. Kindly have a look at this. Who headed the interim cabinet formed in the year 1946? Just now we have seen it was a different question. Who was the vice president of the executive council? Rajendra Prasad. And it is the same question it is being asked here. Who headed the interim cabinet of 1946? The answer is Jawahar Lal Nehru. Okay. Now we have one more question. Kindly look at this. Which one of the following statements is correct? Another important point. Kindly have a look at this. Answer is A. See here, in this type of questions, you can save a lot of time. You can save a lot of time. Once you come to know that statement A is correct, you need not read B, C, D. But as a beginner, as a person who wants to be a perfectionist in answering the questions, kindly read all the statements. Now we need to find out the statements which are correct. The Constituent Assembly of India was elected by the provincial assemblies. Yes, this statement is very, very correct. But we have a doubt. Once you read this statement, we'll also have a doubt that apart from the elected from the provincial assemblies, we also have the nominated members. That is not asked here. But whether it is asked or not, so by reading BCD, we'll come to know, then we'll come to a conclusion. But statement A is partially correct for us. There is no doubt, because so many members got 296 members who were elected from provincial assemblies. Now, let me read the statement B. Jawahar Lal Nehru, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel were the members of the Constituent Assembly. Can you please tell me whether this statement is right or wrong? Definitely you will say this statement is wrong, because Muhammad Ali Jinnah was not a member of the Constituent Assembly. Jawahar Lal Nehru was a member. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was a member, but not Muhammad Ali Jinnah. I told you in the beginning of the class, Mahatma Gandhi, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, these two were not the members in the Constituent Assembly. Hence, option B is wrong for me. Over. Look at this. If you go to see, the first session of the Constituent Assembly of India was held in January 1947. What do you say? Is the statement correct? No, because the first session took place in December 1946. Hopefully you are following each and every point. This is how you need to read the question, read each statement, then come to a conclusion. Of course, because I am explaining you, we are taking time here, but in the examination, you are expected to come to a conclusion within the time limit that is given in the examination. That comes over a period of time through practice. Next one, the Constitution of India was adopted on 26th January 1950. This is wrong. This one is wrong, right? So because the Constitution of India was adopted on November 26th, 1949. By reading A, B, C, D statements, now we can come to a conclusion. We can zero our option on option A. That is, the Constituent Assembly of India was elected by the provincial assemblies. Okay. So we have one more question here. Look at this. Which portfolio was held by Dr. Rajendra Prasad in the interim government formed in the year 1946? Kindly remember this. Of course, in UPSC only this question was asked. We cannot predict a question. This is a question. This may not be a question. Hence, it is better to prepare in all the formats. In what are all the possible information is available. So we better prepare in that manner. And if you look at Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he was heading food and agriculture portfolio in the interim government. Just now I told you, interim government was headed by Jawahar Lal Nehru, and under that one of the ministers was Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and he was given a portfolio. I told you the meaning of the portfolio. Portfolio is nothing but a ministry, and the ministry that was given to Dr. Rajendra Prasad was food and agriculture. Okay. So hopefully I am clear. So this is the end of the making of the constitution. So one very, very important topic. We have seen almost all the important points for our discussion. And I have also shown you some possible questions. Of course, the questions which were asked in the previous examination, the possible questions I will give it to you later. But kindly read each and every point. Very, 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 very important, I told you. Because this is the examination considered to be with the highest standard. What will be the question, what may not be the question, it is very difficult to predict. That's the reason why it is better to prepare on each and every aspect. Okay. And kindly watch this one if it is possible for you once again, and read the notes from our site again. And tomorrow we'll be dealing with the preamble. Once the preamble is over, we'll try to start with the part number 1. But otherwise, so tomorrow we'll be opening the constitution, we'll be touching the preamble part, we'll be trying to understand the very, very important part of the Indian constitution, that is the preamble, and from there let's go ahead. Again, my repetition here, I'm just repeating. Please be thorough with each and every topic. Please be thorough with each and every word what I have used on the screen along with you. Please be thorough with the each and every statement. So what I am sharing with you, everything is important, and have lots of concentration. Then only it is possible to become successful civil servant in the first attempt. In order to get into the first attempt, you have to be very serious, and you need to be highly focused, and you need to put lots of effort and concentration. Okay, as far as I am concerned, I am trying to give you my best to you. Kindly utilize my services and become a civil servant, and also become a better citizen for the nation who can deliver the goods. That is what I am expecting from you. So thank you so much for being with me this morning on this particular session. So we'll have a meeting tomorrow morning again at the same time, 5 o'clock. But for current affairs session, I'll see you in the evening at 9 o'clock. Till then, I wish you all the very, very best, and have a very, very fantastic day. Thank you so much.